Welcome to abombtozzzax. With me, Colin Hoult. And my friends, Dan Snelgrove and Jamie Firth. Here they come! Hello, welcome back to abombtozzzax, my favourite Marvel character, where me and my friends go through every single Marvel character there's ever been and discuss stuff about them. Do we like them? Do we not like them? Where do they fit in a big old list? Last week we talked about Captain America and the Falcon for a very long time. We've only got 20 minutes to do this one, maybe a bit more. As I just said to my dear friend Nick Krik, there is literally no time to piss. So we are going to be pissing ourselves throughout this podcast. Hopefully we'll add. Before I continue, please go to patreon.com/abombtozzzax, 3 Z's and an X, and then you can help support our work and get some bonus content and so on and so forth. I'm Colin Hoult, actor, comedian, comedy actor. I act funny in public and in private. Joining me, why don't you introduce yourselves for once, guys? Who we got here? Nick, go for it.
Hello, I'm Nick Krik for the purposes of this podcast. I have hair on the chin, but not on the top of my head.
Okay. If anyone's playing Guess Who?
I'm Dan Snelgrove. I fit that category as well. Good luck distinguishing us. We're the same person.
Colin's the hairy filling in a baldy sandwich today.
Hairy at the minute, but it's going quick, guys. We haven't got to the three egg stage yet, but we're close. Anyway, we don't have time to edit it. We haven't got time to piss, let alone talk about how much hair we've got. So we go through the A to Z list of Marvel characters and discuss them with many exceptions. For example, last week we did Captain America because of the new movie, but we are now on Araki. No one knows who he is. We've looked and looked. We've researched. We've literally found a few pages where he pops up. So Araki, Araki, weirdly was actually the subject of a song written by the late, great Scott Walker, who has agreed to join us in ghost form once again. Thank you, Scott. Araki, remember me. I don't remember you. Thank you, Scott. His voice, he's still got that cold, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
It's easy that ghosts get ill.
It's a shame we didn't have a Scott song for Abyss.
I know, but I don't think Scott wasn't into this podcast at that point. They weren't getting it in heaven. And if anyone's in heaven, it's Scott. I think I said that last time. So Araki or Arakai or Araki, say it however you want. Don't matter. It's made up. He's an alien. He is a member of the SHI'AR Empire. Are you a member of an empire? Citizen of an empire. He is one of 4 characters we're gonna this is pure ADHD we're gonna supposedly get through in the next 15 minutes. Nick does have to leave to do his new show in Leicester. I was gonna say you could plug it, but it's gonna have been done by the time this comes out.
It'd be like 2 weeks ago.
Well, follow Nick Kirk online to go and see his comedy shows next time you get a chance. So the SHI'AR Empire appeared in the X-Men comics. It's a Chris Claremont creation, I think. And who's the guy? Not Dave Gibbons?
It's either Dave Cockrum or John Byrne, one of the
Dave Cockrum. John Byrne then comes along. They appear a lot throughout it. Nick wrote some lovely explanations of the characters. I think we should do those first so we get some understanding of who we're talking about. We're talking about Araki, as I said, Princess Lilandra, the evil Emperor D'ken, and troublesome sister Deathbird. Nick, do you want to give us a quick blast of that?
Yep. Well, let's cover off the one that we've picked for this podcast, Araki, however we're going to do it. He's the Prime Minister and Lord Chancellor of the Shi'ar Empire. He mainly seems to hang around in the background saying "Yes, Majesty" a lot of the time, like a sort of exposition butler.
Yeah,
And he is
he's
apparently
the kind of character I'd get in a period drama if I
Yeah.
got cast in a period drama. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Continue.
like a spacey period drama.
Yeah.
And he's apparently a clone who can be re-engineered each time the previous one dies, and not always necessarily is the same gender. So that's Araki. I'll whiz through the others quickly as well. So Lilandra D'ken is a member of the Shi'ar. The Shi'ar are originally descended from birds as well, rather than apes, apparently. Does this mean that the Shi'ar have a cloaca? I don't know, maybe one for Science Corner.
What is cloaca?
It's basically birds have it. It's the one hole that everything comes out of. It's a lot.
Oh, do you not have one of those?
An
I don't
egg pooping
think that's
hole.
Oh, very fun, Nick. Sorry, that was a very funny joke. Unfortunately, neither of us knew what you were referring to, but very good. That is so Lilandra is Princess is Professor Xavier's longtime girlfriend. We'll get to that, I guess. So it is very funny, the idea that every now and again she has to go into another room and poop out a few eggs. I mean, I guess it's just like going to the toilet, really.
So she's part of the royal family of the Shi'ar Empire. Her older sister, Deathbird, kills their mother and father. Bit strong, maybe that one. Could have just left them off the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
And her elder brother, D'ken, becomes the Majestor of the Shi'ar Empire. But D'ken turns out to have a bit of a lust for power, and he wants to use the M'Kraan crystal. This leads to a bit of a civil war with Lilandra on one side and D'ken on the other. Lilandra ends up going to the X-Men for help, brings them into this war with D'ken. Also at this point, the Phoenix Force then becomes attached to Jean Grey. There's a lot going on with the Shi'ar at this point in time. There's quite a lot of shenanigans. At the end of the battle around the M'Kraan crystal, D'ken ends up catatonic. Lilandra becomes Majestrix of the Shi'ar Empire. Deathbird deposes her at one point. Then Deathbird gets deposed and Lilandra gets it back. Again, standard empire-y shenanigans, posing. And then eventually a sort of reinvigorated D'ken out of his coma comes back to claim the throne, only to be usurped by, and this is pure comics, a missing third brother of Cyclops and Havoc called Vulcan, not like the pointy-eared Vulcan, but more god of fiery war type Vulcan.
Yes.
And then Vulcan ends up emperor. Lilandra doesn't get the throne back this time. She gets killed. But don't worry, her child, Xandra, eventually gets the throne, her child being a clone of Lilandra and Professor X that Professor X didn't know about. So it's pretty... she was cloned from Professor X while Professor X was dead, so that's why he didn't know about it. Don't worry, Professor X was better after that. He's alive again now. So
well, if you've got the technology, do it, I guess.
So Dan, does that now fully explain the Shi'ar Empire for you?
Oh, God, yeah. Thank goodness for that. All is so clear now.
Could you repeat that back to us, Dan?
There was an emperor. Then there wasn't one, I think. There's a crystal.
Well,
yeah, that's spot on. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Shi'ar, wonderful. Well done, Nick. That was a lovely, succinct explanation of these characters. The reason I've lumped them all together is because the Shi'ar, so in the Marvel Universe, you've got the Skrulls, who are like shape-changing evil green aliens. They're kind of baddies by default, which that kind of shows. You've got the Kree, who again are a bit Roman, fascistic, militaristic, whatever. And then you've got the Shi'ar, who are bird people. A bit more cultured, sort of goodies, sort of baddies. But at the heart of it is this tug of war between the royal family, you've got D'ken, who I kept. It sounds a bit like Dickhead, and I don't know whether that's deliberate.
Yeah. I kept thinking that when I was reading it. Every time reading it, I'm like, it just sounds like Dickhead.
D'ken. He is a dickhead. To be fair, he's a proper dickhead. So when the X-Men, so to put this in context, Professor X keeps getting these visions of this alien coming, trying to get his help. Eventually turns out it's Lilandra, who is, this space princess, if you will, trying to get him to bring the X-Men to help them because dickhead brother, has found the Macron crystal, or the Mcron crystal, as some people call it, which it's the ultimate power, but it will destroy the universe. It's basically a universal equivalent of a nuclear bomb, I guess. And he wants it for himself because he's mad as a hatter. And eventually they overthrow him and Lilandra takes over. And they overthrow him by, does the Phoenix enter his head and send him into a coma? Or is it the power sends him nuts? And
I think the power sends him nuts, and then the Phoenix ultimately defeats him and leaves him comatose.
Dan, I think I know you're a big fan of Roman history, so I think of Dickhead as a sort of Caligula figure.
Ah, okay, great.
Without the pervy stuff. Although there is one comic I read where he's kind of in love with Lilandra. Also, it turns out, very involved in the Summers, as in Cyclops' family history. So Cyclops is in a plane with his mum and dad and his little brother Alex, and the plane is attacked by aliens. Can't remember why, but it turns out it's the SHI'AR. So when D'ken's in charge of the SHI'AR, they're baddies. They're doing bad stuff. Okay, they capture them. And Alex and Scott jump out the plane with the one-out parachute they've got and then end up being X-Men years later. Don't know that their parents are actually still alive. They've been taken away by Dickhead. Sorry, I can't stop saying that. The mum is murdered and the dad escapes and becomes a space pirate called Corsair, who I think is in this comic you read, Classic X-Men 14. He's the kind of guy with a bandana and the big sort of Magnum style mustache.
Right. There's about 400 people in the comic, guys.
Yeah. there is a panel in that one where Jean reads his mind and says, "Oh my God, but does Scott know? Oh," and then that won't be revealed for ages.
Yeah, right. But he's Scott's dad. He doesn't know he's Scott's dad. Scott doesn't know he's his dad.
Right.
But also, not only that, just to give you some character stuff for D'ken, he actually ends up. So she's pregnant already, is that right?
Yes. So before she
with
gets
a third
murdered,
brother.
Yeah. Before she gets murdered, she gives birth to a third Summers brother, which they bring up on the SHI'AR homeworld. And so he hates the SHI'AR because he's treated as like a slave by the SHI'AR, effectively.
Yeah. And when his powers kick in, he eventually comes back and takes over the Empire for himself. Because he was born on SHI'AR, he can technically do that. So there you go.
Oh, and there's another little wrinkle in that Professor X knew about this Summers brother, sent him on a mission, and that mission they all got killed. And then after that, he sets up the new X-Men with Wolverine, etc., and that lot. So there's this little hidden team that he sent on a mission that nobody knows about. One of them was Summers' brother, who he thought was killed but wasn't. And obviously Scott doesn't know that Professor X knew that he had a missing brother.
So you see the X-Men are very intertwined with the SHI'AR throughout history. This is one thing where when I used to read the comics as a kid, now I sort of accept it, but even though I love the Dark Phoenix saga, but they were very much like the X-Men have kind of got their own thing going on, the whole civil rights, mutants, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as you throw in aliens, does that kind of slightly kill the concept a bit?
I mean,
Dan, how do you feel with these guys appearing?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. This was one of those ones where, like, I feel like I've picked it up at the very end of lots of threads, and the saying "less is more" is not applied in this comic. There is so much going on in each panel. It's like, wow, it's like overload, and I was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But to your question, bringing in aliens, yeah, I'm not sure I like that as much as keeping it on Earth and dealing with Earth politics. I'm not against it. It's just I have questions. Do these aliens? Do they
Maybe
have
that's the
mutant...
best way to do this episode. Is you just give us all the questions.
I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah.
But do these aliens have mutant powers in the same way the X-Men do, or do they have their own thing going on? Like they've got bird holes where they can poo and make eggs?
Some do, some don't. So, no, generally. Deathbird. Have you seen any of Deathbird? I'm not sure if you did. You just read Classic X-Men 4? Okay, fair enough. Deathbird is the sister. She's actually the eldest sister of the royal family. Like Nick said, she killed her parents. I don't remember ever seeing that anywhere, but I believe Nick. Why would he lie? But she should be ruler, but because she's killed her parents, obviously she's not allowed to. So that's why Dickhead takes over, and then Lilandra. So they're obviously a messed up family for a start. But Deathbird is a mutant, so she is an alien mutant. But they call it a throwback to when their ancestral history. So she has feathers. I think they've all kind of got feathers, but she's got like proper feathers all over and talons, and she can fly. Wings, essentially. So she is, she's quite Wolverine-y, isn't she? I love her. I actually really like Deathbird. How do you say her real name, Nick? Is it Khaleesi? I wonder whether that was a nod to Game of Thrones.
I can't work on that because it's
C-A-L.
Calcai, or I wasn't. It's one of those ones that I read and I never internally pronounce. You know, sometimes you read a name and you're like, I don't have a pronunciation for that.
Yeah, you just skip over it.
Yeah.
So Calysee. I wonder whether it's a nod to Game of Thrones. I don't know if that was out by this point.
No, Game of Thrones was quite a few years after.
Oh, was it? I know it took him so long to write it. I thought, maybe. Anyway, I think, Dan, where it's probably really throwing you is, so you've got the Shi'ar Empire, who are all basically this Romanish bird people.
Right.
Militaristic, blah, blah, blah. But the royal family has the Imperial Guard. And the Imperial Guard is made up of aliens from all the different planets they've conquered. So that's probably why you're like, who the hell are all these creatures? So all like Gladiator, there's one literally called Gladiator. And there's one who's like on fire. There's one who's a giant. There's one who can change shape. They're all... So I guess it's like if it was Gladiator, it would be the Emperor getting the strongest warrior from Germany, from France, showing them Egypt and making them a team that defends the Emperor.
Well, there was the Varangian Guard, the Imperial Guard, who... This
is what we want to get into. I'm going to talk about that once because Nick's got to go in 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Nick, the last thing I want to say to you, did you know the Imperial Guard are based on the Legion of Superheroes?
Oh, no, I didn't realise that.
You're going to have a lot of fun tonight working out which one's which. Every one is a analog of... So Legion of Superheroes is a DC thing, which is like the sort of essentially the Justice League of the 30th century or 40th century, or whatever they're meant to be. So Superboy, in the DC, Superman or Superboy goes to the far future, meets the Legion. They're all from different planets as well. But Gladiator is Superman. That's why he's basic Superman. And if you look, there's a lightning lad, there's a chameleon boy. Every single one has which you've got a lovely train journey ahead of you, my friend. All right, Nick, well, we'll let you go, buddy. You hop off. But thanks for joining us. All right.
Catch you next time.
When you come back, Araki will be number one. Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Nick. Thank you. Thank you. Dear old Nick had to, literally, he's absolutely, you can't see it on the podcast, but he's covered in piss. So I think he booed himself as well. I don't know if he, but that's the kind of dedication, Dan, that we want on this podcast. You know, dedication to this ridiculous fictional world that came out about 40 years ago. So you were telling me, so that is a real thing, is it? The Romans had a Imperial Guard. The
Varangian Guard, who they pulled.
That's such a Star Trek-y word, Varangian.
I know. Cool, isn't it? Really cool. But it was like a bunch of like of the Rus, the Norsemen, the Anglo-Saxons, just like big tough dudes who who would, protect the emperor.
And would they be honoured to join it, kind of thing?
Yeah. They were. I think they were quite. They weren't always like. I think they were embroiled in some intrigue as the years went on. Like they weren't always entirely on the emperor's side at all times. But yeah, this kind of reflects it a little bit. Having that guard of people that you draw from outside, because the idea is that if they had guard from within the Roman sphere, the immediate Roman sphere, then they could be already tied up. Oh, my dad's this guy, so if I kill you, my dad can get in, or they've been brought in from outside, so hopefully they won't have lots of
so it's to avoid this whole D'ken Deathbird scenario where your sister or brother is trying to kill you to take over.
Yeah.
Were there any female emperors?
Yes, there was. Oh, what's her name now? I can't remember her name, but there was one in Byzantium when Rome, the Western Empire fell and the East continued as the Byzantine Empire. I can't remember her name now, but yes, there was one.
There was one, but in the whole history, only one.
Yeah,
as far as we remember.
I think so. Yeah.
Wow. So also Gladiator, the character Gladiator, not the film Gladiator. Very confusing, but he is called the Praetor, Praetor. Have you come across this word?
Yes, Praetor. Yes,
I did look it up. It's, but it's not like. I was
embarrassed.
Yeah, no, it's not like top warrior or anything. It means, oh god, I've got my notes.
Is it like
absolutely.
Police? Is it the police force?
I think I just wrote Praetor and then didn't write what it was, but I did look it up. No, it's kind of more like a top counselor, or it's not the top. It's not a consul. So a consul is the top. It's one below that.
Apparently. Right, yeah.
So it doesn't quite fit that whereas in this, he's kind of like their ultimate bodyguard, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, this is so in terms of the X-Men going to SHI'AR world, they come up against this team. I guess it makes it more fun than them just fighting a load of aliens with lasers. So the fact that they have essentially their own super team that defend the Empire. What I do like about it is the Empire is not really good or bad in the same way as Rome. In some ways, they're like kind of on the right side, or they're doing good things, but also they are conquering planets. And if they have a bad emperor, then they do dreadful things.
Yeah, well, I think that is quite Roman insofar as like, if you follow, as I did, Rome's story, you can get Rome biased and think, well, I'm on Rome's side, but they are expansionist. They do oppress loads of little tribes and things. They're not the goodies. They do bring technology and other culture and ways of thinking and stuff like that. But it is a mixture. And you do have good emperors and really, really awful emperors.
Yeah,
good presidents, bad presidents. Are we going
there?
There you
go. Well, I mean, it does make you think again, doesn't it? Where like, in one, well, like at the minute, Trump's ideas about just taking over an area and making it better. I mean, that's not unlike the Romans doing stuff like that, is it? It's the same kind of thing.
Indeed.
And then you get into that thing of America sort of going, well, everyone ultimately wants to be like us, which I guess the Romans were also like, well, you're barbarians, but one day you'll realize actually this is much better.
Yeah, very much so.
And then you get into like, well, I guess in some ways they have things those places don't have, but then you're wiping out their identity and also maybe they're doing some things better. And yeah. So there you go. And the SHI'AR, I think that's a good, again, I mean, Chris Claremont is one of my favorite writers who writes all the X-Men. He writes the X-Men for like 13 years during all this period. And so I like that they're not a kind of Star Trek alien race, where often what happens is there's a problem with the alien race. Either some people are slaves and some people aren't, for example. Normally it's that. And then Captain Kirk ends up sort of basically telling them how to be more American, essentially. I like Star Trek as well, but that's often the plot. But I like in here, it's like, well, they are what they are. We can't really affect that other than saving the day when they're about to destroy the whole universe. Did you get to the end of this comic where he does get the crystal and then it cuts to Earth and we see Reed Richards talking to a scientist and the entire universe blinks out of existence for 1 second?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, by this point, obviously my brain had melted out of aliens. And I was still trying to look for the word
I should have found
Araki.
a way. The problem is they appear before that in little... So Lilandra, who is the princess, Lilandra Lemirami, she appears in little, almost like a B plot in the other stories. So the main story, they'll be fighting Magneto or whatever. Meanwhile, Professor X keeps getting these dreams of this alien. So it's kind of hard to show you the lead into, and then suddenly she goes, come with me. They go through a Stargate, and then they're literally that amazing picture, double page spread of the crystal with all, like you say, like 50 characters, all different, which is amazing, like drawing. But if you don't know what's happened, you're like, what? But actually, I think when you read it the first time, you're like, I still don't know what's happening. So it is a kind of, that's why I thought it might be all right. In that it's like, you don't know about who D'ken is or Lilandra or anything. It's just, they've literally been dropped in this alien fight.
Right. So there's a bit of overwhelm is intended.
I think so, yeah. I think that's picture in particular.
Right. I'm all for that.
When no X-Man has gone before, I think it might be, bit of fun. So they're wearing their Star Wars, Star Trek stuff proudly. And the whole Lilandra being the princess escaping is very Princess Leia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would have really enjoyed this had I known a little bit more.
Yes.
But I was, it was quite like, oh my goodness.
And the SHI'AR keep coming back with X-Men to the point where, like I said, Lilandra lives with Professor X for a while as his girlfriend, just pooping and laying eggs.
Yeah, they have a strange sort of telepathic sort of flirty thing where she's kind of realizing that they're connected. And that is
this the sort of extra story at the end?
Yeah.
So just to explain what Classic X-Men was it came out like 10 years after the original story came out, and it was like that story with extra bits, if you see what I mean. So the main story actually came out like 10 years before this comic, if that makes sense. And then they've like it's like a director's cut, DVD extras.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so he's done a more like interesting... That's why it's a bit more gentle and less kind of superhero-y. But we find out about Lilandra. I thought that little story was great. Very Ray Bradbury.
Yeah, I liked that. I really enjoyed that.
So it's where she is held captive by D'ken. And he is quite creepy with her as a brother, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Oh, certainly.
He's got he's got sort of Sultan, Big Tash vibes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's creepy with her, but he's taken over, and what does he say? He wants to kill her, does he? Is he going to kill her or something? Oh, no, he's going to marry her off to someone. I can't actually remember.
I think is she on trial or something? You are helpless, a prisoner aboard one of my Imperial dreadnoughts. On my order, you can be executed where you stand. But if I can be magnanimous, confess your fault, pledge your fealty, plead, Lilandra, for mercy, and your life will be spared. You'll be exiled like Deathbird.
Right. Our big sister.
So
this happened a lot with Roman emperors as well, didn't they? Where they kind of killed off their brothers and sisters and
all that kind
weird
of stuff
with them.
Yep. Absolutely.
Horses were involved. All sorts of shit like that. Very unpleasant. But then she contacts Professor X. So the way she contacts him is that he in a previous comic, there's a alien invasion by aliens called the Xenox.
Right.
Xenox. Znox. Anyway, they're unrelated to the SHI'AR. But the point is, Professor X pretends to be dead for a good couple of years. And then it turns out he's not dead. And this changeling... Oh, no, he doesn't pretend to be dead. oh God, what happens? Basically, a changeling has been pretended to be him. Oh, so the Professor X who is killed was actually Changeling, who is kind of a morph type character, a shape changer. And then Professor X reveals that actually he's been in hiding because he knows this invasion's coming and he has to stop them. And there's a really good comic where he links every mind on Earth. And it's all about, the goodness of humanity repelling the invasion, like a big psychic bolt of every human on Earth helps him. So it's quite a, uplifting.
Right.
If he's gone about it in quite a devious way, but it's sort of quite uplifting. Anyway, at that moment, retroactively, it turns out that's when he makes contact with Lilandra for some reason. Don't know why, but their brains connect. And then in this story, he's in her body. His mind, they're sharing the same body. Because one thing I wrote here was like, why is she with Professor X? Because he's an older man. I mean, it changes how old he's meant to be. Like sometimes he does literally seem like an old man, Professor Patrick Stewart type level. And sometimes it's like, oh, is he about 50? Do you know what I mean? But either way, she appears to be a fairly young lady. And I've written, why is she with Professor X?
That in lovely terms smooth of like head, I think.
Well, I guess so. It's a lovely and massive eyebrows.
Oh yeah, look at those twinkly eyes as well.
They attractive, pointed eye. And he's quite dominating as well, isn't he?
Well, she's like saying he's breaking down my barriers and things. How dare he? But she's kind of, I don't know. I think she's kind of. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, read it and think for yourself, but it's
well, I thought as a writer, why would you make it that she's with Professor X? It's just a weird decision. But Chris Claremont wrote for 13 years, so I think he just did all sorts of mad shit because why not? And but what it is because they have this moment where their minds, they know everything about each other because their minds merge in this second. And he's literally waking up and he's like, but I can't walk, how am I walking, and all this sort of stuff. So it's not just, there's a lot creepy about Professor X, and it always felt a bit like he was like, I'll have a saucy alien lady. Do you know? A bit of that. I don't know. But actually, yeah, they are as one. They are mentally connected. So it's quite sweet, I guess.
Does she have powers as well? Telepathic powers?
No.
No. Okay, so he's coming into her head. Okay, I just didn't know whether there was some sort of meeting of telepathic powers, and that's why.
Yeah.
No, does that make it less problematic?
So almost like a telepathic love in a way that we couldn't understand kind of way.
Exactly, yeah.
I think it is that, but I think it's just that he's accidentally ended up in her head as well.
Oh, okay.
He hasn't deliberately, he's just, for some reason, it's some side effect of him doing this big bolt and destroying the Xenox. He actually becomes her consort, and he's given the name Shivana Halana. Shivana Halana.
Oh.
A few bits I enjoyed from this. I liked D'ken's, again, to reference good old DJ Trump. He's off his tits. He's mad as a hatter, and he's just doing. It's that thing where when you're not a good leader, you're not a good emperor. You don't know about nuance or people or the complexity of the world. You end up doing absolutely mad stuff. Like, for example, he tries to kill Lilandra at one point by summoning a thing called the Soul Drinker, which is just a big green face with a big pointy tongue. And he says, watch out, it's going to suck all our souls as well. Not suck all our souls, suck all our souls. And it's like, there's this moment where it's always like he's gone, oh, what have I done that for? Like he's just,
oh no.
He just gets too excited. And, do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to drop the biggest bomb. It's like that equivalent. And then it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Oh no, it's going to blow us up, but no.
Yeah. So I quite like his character. I like that they've gone there, that he's this Roman emperor essentially who is just nuts. And this is what happens when the leader, a phrase that, what is it? That on one of the podcasts I listened to, they keep saying the fish stinks downwards. I think that's the phrase he says. As in when the leader's corrupt, everyone is corrupt below.
Oh, right.
So when a leader is, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. About if you introduce an alien culture, you can have completely different political systems or represent ancient ones from Earth. I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah. How do you feel about those things where it's like an alien society, but they might as well be us?
Yeah.
It's got different clothes.
I mean, having seen 1,000 Doctor Who episodes, yeah, I've seen that a lot, and it's kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's if you're making 1,000 episodes of something, it's quite tiring, I imagine. It's such an opportunity to represent, to show something completely different, an alien culture, and through that, I think we could say, oh, what about if we try this political structure or that political structure? And I think that it's an interesting way in to explore that. If you free us from this Earth and go to alien places, but yeah, a lot of the time I think it's just.
You're right. So it's not really even science fiction in a way, is it? It's just because these could be fantasy characters. These could be orcs. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing apart from they all poo and wee out the same hole. Everything. So basically, they beat D'ken in the end by Phoenix. Jean Grey, as Nick said, at this point has been possessed. She doesn't know it yet, really, but possessed by the Phoenix Force. Which is a powerful force as old as the universe, which controls her and makes her gives her like ultimate power, but also eventually drives her mad. And then there is a series which I was going to hold back because that's the big one, called the Dark Phoenix Saga, where she goes mad and she destroys an entire planet, kills everyone on it, an alien planet.
Well, I guess we're going to talk about that when we get to her, right?
Well, yes. But that's where the Shi'ar come back. So by that point, Lilandra has taken over from D'ken, and even though they're sort of friends now, because Phoenix has done all this, she has to be held to trial, and then it ends in a trial by combat between the Imperial Guard and the X-Men for Phoenix's life. It's great. It's very intense. A lot of fun. So I think they use the Shi'ar really well. Like they're almost used as arbiters in those big cosmic moments. They can almost come in and be the kind of judge, jury, and executioner type thing. For a long time, Lilandra's in charge. She's not that much of a character. She's just kind of nice. I don't think she ever gets particularly shows any other sides really. I mean, I guess like in that context, it's like, oh, come on, we just saved you. And she's like, no, sorry. So she does... she would go against her heart for her empire. So there's a lot of Professor X saying, surely we can, we're literally, I'm your consort. Surely we can decide a way to get around this. But it's like, no, the empire, I have to do everything for the empire.
I think that's really interesting. And going back to our topic of conversation, just to talk about the other side, where like perhaps you've got someone with such power like Biden had.
Yeah.
And then he's going out of power and it's like, do I pardon my son or not?
Yeah. True.
Is it good for the empire for me to do this or not? Or say the empire, American empire.
Yeah.
But,
he's doing it with his heart there, isn't he?
Yeah.
And his reasons are true, I think, in that I think they would have been, literally Trump saying, I'm going to send them all to prison and stuff, where we're going to, create false trials and all this, show trials. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, in this case, so Lilandra is more Biden. She's not Biden because he didn't do that, did he? But the empire is the most important thing. And in later stories, Lilandra gets usurped by Deathbird. Just talk about Deathbird briefly, because I really like Deathbird. She first appears in a Ms. Marvel comic. The original Ms. Marvel is the person who's now Captain Marvel from the movies, if that rings any bells. But she first appears as just a baddie to Ms. Marvel. She's she's got claws, she's quite Wolverine-y, she's violent, aggressive, very passionate. But there's even in those, I read the first appearance last night, it's very old and a bit clunky, but it's Chris Claremont as well. But even there, she's got sadness to her, a rage that she can't control. And then there's a great story, much, much later on where she's taken over the Empire, and Gladiator, the character Gladiator, always goes with the Emperor. So even if, like, at that point, D'ken is going to literally might destroy the universe, but he still cannot go against him. Even though they're saying to him, look, this is madness, he will not budge from his role. And weirdly, I think, like Superman, because he's a sort of Superman analog, he's the last of his race. So I don't know if he was adopted by the Shi'ar or if they destroyed his planet. I don't know. Presumably not, because he's utterly loyal to the point of, yeah, he literally won't stop a mad emperor. Which is going to be interesting.
Yes.
In this day and age, isn't it? At what
really
point
is.
do the military or the police or whatever turn around and go, no, actually, we're not going to do this.
Oh my God. Oh
Will
my
they
God.
keep going no matter what? Because, yeah, anyway, it's hard not to make it so political, isn't it? But so when Deathbird takes over, it's a really good story because she's like this crazy, and she's fighting Wolverine and she stabs Wolverine in the back and it's really bloody and exciting. And Professor X is there as the consort. Anyway, it turns out Professor X is actually evil at that point and is controlling everyone. It's not even Professor X, it's a Skrull pretending to be Professor X. When you read it, it's a lot more fun. I'm saying it very badly. So Deathbird then comes back sort of on the X-Men side, and it's really exciting because she's kind of, when a baddie, like when Magneto helps them, it's got that feel that she's she's got big guns, blasting people away. She's great. I love her as a character because you don't know where she's going to go. And then 20 years later, she's back to being a villain. She sides with that character Vulcan, who we're talking about, the Summers brother, who goes crazy, who is psychopathic, takes over the Empire, but she's with him and it goes a bit Bonnie and Clyde. They're like in love with each other, like we'll burn the universe together kind of feel. So I'm a big Deathbird fan. Araki, where we began.
Who is that?
Who is he? Araki is a short, squat fellow who has a sort of Abraham Lincoln beard with no moustache. An old man. I think he's literally appears in that comic you read for like 2 panels or something. He's in it consistently whenever the Shi'ar are there. He's literally the man. He's not a butler. He's the prime minister, I think they said, but he is like the guy who sees the emperor's wishes done. But where I think he's slightly interesting, as I say, he's literally a handful of appearances. So when he's with D'ken, he's doing D'ken stuff. When he's with Lilandra, he's doing Lilandra, as in he's following their wishes. But then, in one of the later stories, he is part of the coup to overthrow Lilandra and bring back D'ken. So I guess it's that feel of like, it's a very patriarchal, militaristic society. A more liberal and female character has taken over, and the old guard do not like it, even though it's years later, and he's got this secret secret order who have been planning this coup the whole time. And so he is the one who, I think he shoots Lilandra. I don't know if he kills her at that point, but he basically turns on her and brings D'ken out of this coma he's been in ever since the whole McCran situation. So he is kind of
pivotal. He's
pivotal. He's got character and interesting, I think. And the Shi'ar come down to Mike does make right with them. And so just to finish another story I read, which was called Emperor Vulcan. So D'ken comes back as emperor, but then Vulcan, D'ken marries him to Deathbird so that he can be part of the family, because Vulcan has brought him back and he's like, let me reward you with this kind of thing. And then Vulcan turns around and goes, do you think I forget what you did to my mother? And just melts him in front of everyone and takes his crown and says, I'm emperor now. So he becomes emperor of the Shi'ar. And then it turns out, how do I say this very succinctly? There's another alien race who used to own the Macron crystal, who the Shi'ar in the distant past basically committed a genocide against. So they're in the 1,000 years previous or something, they have finally built up their armada and come back to destroy the Shi'ar. And there's a lot of stuff going on. Certain X-Men, Vulcan's brother Havoc is fighting against Vulcan, but ultimately Vulcan beats them mercilessly, ruthlessly, no mercy, like kills every single one of them. Don't worry, if it helps, they're all male. And they're
the ones
all
that get
brothers. Yeah.
Okay.
That makes it slightly less upsetting. But he basically does the complete nuclear option. And what's interesting is through that whole thing, there's been a civil war between Vulcan and Lilandra, trying to who's going to be the emperor. She's got her right-hand admiral is fighting with her to beat Vulcan. He's not even one of us. He shouldn't be on the throne. He's crazy, blah, blah, blah. But then after this happens, he turns around to Lilandra and says, sorry, Lilandra, I must think of the Empire first. Vulcan has proven he's got what it takes to be the emperor. And tells Lilandra, he says, I'll let you escape, but I'm no longer with you. Whoa. Because ultimately, what those people value most is utter ruthlessness. Which is being played out in real time right now. In a sense, isn't it? The strong man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm feeling drawn into that conversation.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Just focusing on
Araki, on the Shi'ar. Yeah.
Therefore, I think is an interesting character.
Yeah.
Based on how you're describing.
Forgive me. The character at the end, that's not Araki. That's her general. But he's the one who he instigates the coup earlier, which leads to. God, sorry, there's so many emperors to explain. But you could consider Araki and that general essentially the same character, the right hand man to the emperor. But ultimately, ruthlessness, brutalness, and a sense of like will not budge is above. Intelligence and what's the word? Actually trying to deliberate and understand and which Lilandra represents that. Really good, I thought, and I did not see that twist coming. I thought it was great because all the way through the story, it's the idea that well, I guess in a way, Vulcan in that story is like Donald Trump the first time coming in. He's not even a politician. He's not one of us. He doesn't understand. He's just a reality star, blah, blah, blah. Vulcan's come in as this, he's this very powerful, charismatic, literally superpowers as opposed to, TV powers, whatever. But he's come in and out of nowhere and they've all gone, this can't be the case. We've got to stop him. And then eventually they see him be utterly brutal. And they go, actually, maybe this is what we want.
We want that. Oh, God.
Good bit of writing, eh?
Yeah. Well, I think that struggle between those two, it's good that is represented and played out in these sorts of formats for us so that we can deliberate and decide what we want. I mean, for my part, I think sometimes difficult decisions must be made. If you're the emperor, it's not. Yeah, some difficult decision. But perhaps that's what she represented, because you said sometimes she did say, sorry, this is for the Empire. This is Lilandra.
Yes.
Sometimes
so she did some of that, but she was still caring, considerate.
Right.
And intelligent and coming at it from an intelligent, from a point of view of, thinking about it rather than just being, Shi'ar is what matters. Everyone else. Yeah. Shi'ar first.
Shi'ar first. Make Shi'ar great again.
Make Shi'ar great again. It is very interesting. Wow, we deliberated about it on this podcast.
But this is how these stories are so great, that it makes us talk about these sorts of things, which we have to.
Yeah.
We really have to.
As long as we don't actually do anything.
Yes, and just talk. Middle-aged men on a podcast. That's what.
Do you know what? I genuinely had this idea yesterday that I'd start doing an Instagram feed, which is me reading every issue of Captain America to try and sort of discuss how the stuff we were talking about last week on this podcast. And I thought, for like a microsecond, part of my brain went, yeah, that'll make a real difference. That will, do you know what I mean? That will like be my protest. I'm going to read every issue of Captain America. That will teach him.
This is you changing the world.
That will make them think twice. Yeah. Crikey. Wonderful.
Start.
Right. Well, there we go. That's the Shi'ar Empire in a nutshell. They'll be back at some point when we meet the Imperial Guard specifically. Obviously, you only got a very small slice of them. Deathbird, you didn't even see at all. So I'm guessing you can't really.
No.
But I like her a lot. And I think I'm going to put her at number 5 after Angel.
Number 5. Wow. Okay.
Above Abigail Brand.
Nick's not even here.
I know. I think she's my Abyss. Abyss. You had Abyss.
Yeah.
Nick had the zombie, and I'm putting Deathbird. Sod it.
Okay.
I didn't think it. I read them and I thought, actually, she's so great. She's exciting, and she changes a lot throughout. You never know which side she's on.
Right.
She's cool. She's hot as well. She doesn't.
Well, extra point.
But where would you put Lilandra D'ken and Araki? Any thoughts? It's hard for you to...
It's really hard. As I say, I've got to say, this comic did blow my mind. There's so much that I felt like, okay, I need to know about for this.
Shall I just make a decision for you?
I think so, if that's all right.
Let's put them below Red Guardian. Because Red Guardian was pretty fun, right? I don't think... I'm going to put Lilandra below Red Guardian.
Okay.
I'm going to put D'ken... So she's at 24. I'm going to put D'ken after the Ancient One. He's above American Eagle. He's above Aguila. But Aguila's just Sorrow. Come on, Aguila really is just...
Yeah.
Come on. Come on, for God's sake. I'm putting him above Abomination, though. That feels wrong, but anyway. And then finally... But I think he's an interesting... I like the Caligula-ness.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in it much, but I think he makes an impression. If it was a TV series, he would be a really good part to play, and someone would do a really good job. You know?
Yeah, I'm for this. Yeah, yes.
And Araki, we've got to put him at the end, really, haven't we? Because he's not in it. Because he doesn't really exist. But he's still better than a lot of these twerps. I'm just going to put him... Right, this won't mean anything to you, but I'm going to put him in the middle of the Order, who are a series of very forgettable superheroes.
Is he above that? Is it Arrow?
He's above Arrow.
Okay, good.
Okay. You really... I was thinking about it. It was so harsh. Arrow was like, you know...
Naff.
She had a full... It was naff. It was just too naff, wasn't it? It was too naff. Yeah. Right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Patreon.com/abombtozzzax, 3 Zs and an X. Hopefully the UK will still be independent as a...
The 58th state after...
after all the other ones.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to be back with a post-Captain America Brave New World review of the movie. Plus, we're going to be meeting some of those characters, the Red Hulk, the Leader, and the Serpent Society, all of whom feature how will the comics rate or relate to the movie versions. That'll be a fun one to do, I think. Right. Thanks so much, Mr. Snelgers.
You're very welcome. Thank you, you too.
See you next week. And goodbye to Nick. I hope he was able to have a shower before his show.
You have been listening to abombtozzzax, my favorite Marvel character, with me, Colin Hoult, and my friends Dan Snelgrove and Jamie Firth. There they go! Please remember to support us at patreon.com/abombtozzzax.